The forest is a magical place. Because few people venture there. It's sparsely populated. So it's always shrouded in a veil of mystery. You can never imagine what interesting things you might discover in the woods. From suddenly appearing terrifying shadows, to mysterious underground bunkers. In this episode, Mingxin will bring you 15 mysterious discoveries in the forest. And these discoveries will completely change your knowledge. If you're a new viewer, welcome to subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification bell, so you can watch more exciting content as soon as it's released. Alright. Now let's begin our story. Number 15. Shoe Tree Exhibition. In some areas of Ontario, Canada, there's an interesting phenomenon. Some trees are filled with all kinds of shoes, according to the locals' law. In the beginning, there were only occasional shoes placed on the tree. As time passed, more and more shoes appeared on the tree. It became an interesting sight. It's said that the tradition of hanging shoes on the tree can be traced back to around 1972. What's that? Why do people hang shoes on trees? There are many reasons behind it. Some people do it to commemorate a special person or event. Others might do it as a form of artistic expression. And some people might simply do it because they saw others doing it and thought it was fun, so they joined in. Over time, more and more shoes appeared on the tree, turning it into a well-known local site. Number 14. Tank 2 in the dirt. In 2001, a group of kids in Estonia were playing in the woods, when they discovered something strange. At first glance, it looks especially like a stone. However, there is only this one stone standing alone in the area. The boy felt it was strange. He then called the adults to conduct an excavation. To his surprise, they dug up a tank. According to reports, this is a Soviet military tank. Its model is T-34. It was one of the most famous tanks of World War II. The T-34 had solid armor, powerful firepower, and excellent mobility. At the time, it was considered one of the best tanks in the world. This model of tank was mass-produced and deployed in battles. It played an important role in the Soviet-German conflict on the Eastern Front. This was an outstanding tank. At least the forgery wasn't cheap. Why did it end up in the dirt? The more plausible guess is, it could have been on the battlefield. The Soviet army fought. During their retreat, the tank was abandoned in this situation. Or perhaps it malfunctioned during the battle. It can't be used anymore, so it might also be abandoned. The same thing happened in Poland in 2012. Someone found a Soviet tank buried in the mud. It was believed that this tank might have fallen in the winter of 1945. While the Soviets were crossing the frozen river. It accidentally fell into the river. Or maybe a military shell hit the ice surface, causing the tank to fall into the river. Number 13. The Dog in the Tree Trunk. 1980s. A logger in Georgia, USA, was cutting down trees, when he discovered a hollow oak tree. Inside the tree trunk, there was a dog's body wedged in. This worker was seriously affected, and soon told the people around him. It quickly became a local hot news story. Why did the mummified dog end up inside the tree trunk? After some research, it was speculated that the dog might have died in the 1960s. While chasing something, it accidentally fell into the tree trunk. The narrow space made it difficult for the dog to escape. As time passed, the poor dog tragically died inside. However, the shape of the oak bark allowed for good ventilation. The smell of the decomposing dog was dispersed. The most fascinating thing is, oak contains a substance called tannin. It can serve to dry out moisture. So, in such an extremely unlikely situation, this rare occurrence appeared. It's hard to imagine how desperate this dog must have been at that moment, exhausting its very last bit of strength, just to call out for someone nearby to save it. However, in the end, what came was the arrival of death. The 12th. The Kneeling Wing Staircase. The Kneeling Sun Staircase. On foreign social media platforms, there was a story that was particularly popular for quite a long time. It was about forests in many countries, similar to the United States, Germany, Brazil, the Philippines, and so on. There are inexplicably many staircases. These staircases look very new, and seem out of place in the surrounding environment, as if they were directly transplanted from some house. But there were no traces of any buildings around. Moreover, the locations of these stairs are typically deep within forests, places where there are hardly any people. As for these suddenly appearing stairs, many speculate that they might be the work of some artist. Others believe they could be portals to another dimension. Some even say That these stairs are a base for aliens arriving on Earth. In short, there are all sorts of theories. However, so far, there is no evidence to support these views. In the days that followed, these stairs gradually came to be seen as ominous. Many people associated them with supernatural phenomena, fearful of avoiding it at all costs. Dead man's fingers. If you see something strange like dead man's fingers in the forest, don't panic. No murder has occurred here, nor is there any suspicious body. It's most likely a weird fungus called Xylaria polymorpha. It mainly grows at the roots of decaying trees. Because it looks particularly like a dead person's fingers, it is also nicknamed dead man's fingers, but they are not actually fingers. One could say, this is a little joke played by nature. Of course, this type of fungus is not edible. Roar. I guess no one would want to eat something with that name, right? Ha ha ha. Number 10. The Crooked Forest. In northwestern Poland, there's a pine forest that was planted here in the 1930s. There is a strange phenomenon in this forest. All the tree roots start to bend into a specific shape, and they all uniformly curve toward the north. After that, they grow straight upward. It looks very strange. So why do these trees take on this shape? Some speculate that this shape might be caused by human intervention. It was for producing wood for specific purposes, such as making furniture or parts for ships. But thinking about it a bit, it doesn't seem quite right. Because these trees have been growing for almost 100 years since they were planted. Clearly, the person who planted the trees has long since died. Their purpose was never achieved. Another theory is that these trees might have been affected by some natural phenomenon shortly after they were planted. For example, the pressure from wind or snow, and how they shape their growth accordingly. If that's the case, there should be similar situations in other parts of the world. But so far, there hasn't been any similar reports. Number 9. Wawa Jiden. One day, a British woman was walking in the forest, when she accidentally stumbled upon a creepy place. On many of the trees in the area, there were numerous eerie dolls tied up, and on the ground, there was something resembling a Ouija board. The woman was terrified. Tell the people around about this matter. This immediately caused a great sensation. Later, someone discovered that this place had been a hospital over 100 years ago. The hospital treated many patients during World War I. But with the end of the war, this area gradually fell into disrepair. It was slowly overgrown with many trees. These dolls may have some connection with one. However, it is clear that the dolls should have been placed recently. As for the purpose, no one knows, to this day. Later, the local police took these dolls away, and the matter was considered settled for now. 8th. Breathing forests. You will find breathing forests. The undulating trees are like people. It's a bit hard to believe. But in Quebec, Canada, there is this magical phenomenon. Especially when viewed from the air. It looks like someone is cutting down trees below, but when you walk in, you find there's nothing at all. There is a kind of ghostly déjà vu. This phenomenon is usually caused by the wind acting on the trees and soil. It creates a visual effect. When the tree roots are tightly connected to the ground, strong winds move the tree canopy. This can cause a visual effect of the ground appearing to fluctuate up and down, especially when the soil is moist and soft. When tree roots are not particularly deep underground, this phenomenon is more likely to occur. 7th place. 7th place. The Round Tree House. In a forest in British Columbia, Canada, there is a romantic little cabin. This round cabin is suspended for meters above the ground. You need to climb a spiral staircase to get in. The builder of the cabin is named Tom Crudy. According to him, it took 20 years to build this treehouse. It was made with more than 3,000 pieces of wood. Although it looks small from the outside, the interior is not cramped at all. It has various amenities, including a sofa, bed, table, everything you need like clothes. The cabin is open to the public. If you want to go on vacation, it only costs $130 a night. Experience a closeness to nature. Achieve a state of relaxation. This place is definitely a good choice. Of course, if it's a bit small, and you want to live in a bigger space, it's not impossible. In the next listing, there's something beyond your imagination. The 6th place. Airplane apartment. In a forest in Oregon, USA, an airplane suddenly appeared. Of course, this isn't some kind of crash site. On the contrary, it's a luxurious villa. This is a Boeing 727 airplane. Its current owner is an electrical engineer named Bruce Kanger. He bought it in the late 1990s. So that's also one of the reasons why dense vegetation has grown around the plane, and why it's unclear how the plane was brought in. Bruce removed all the seats inside the plane, keeping only the original cockpit design. Then he installed essential facilities for daily living inside, such as a simple kitchen, bathroom, shower room. At the same time, Rain-E also added a lot of furniture in the corridor, like a bed, a desk, a refrigerator, a microwave oven, and living essentials like a sofa. There's even Wi-Fi inside the plane. Everything a home should have is here, without exception. Of course, this is a private residence. If you want to visit or stay here, you must get Bruce's permission. Over the past many years, this place has become a hotspot for influencers. It gives many people a refreshing feeling. A ghost in the forest. Imagine this. You are walking in the forest. Suddenly, a person appears in front of you, standing still with their back to you. No matter how you call out, there is no response at all. What would it feel like? In a secluded forest in Scotland, to witness such a magical phenomenon. Actually, they were created and installed by artist Rob Mulholland in 2012. These sculptures are made from a special kind of glass. This material can reflect the surrounding scenery. The sculptures blend into the environment from different angles and lighting conditions, creating an illusionary effect. The Seong people only noticed their presence when they got closer. By placing these sculptures in the forest, he hoped people would reflect on humanity's place in the natural environment, and how we impact the environment we live in. Well, at least in my opinion, these sculptures didn't achieve the effect he wanted. If you were there in person, your first reaction would definitely be startled. Of course, this expression is actually quite subtle. In Kielder Forest in the UK, there's an even bigger sculpture. If it's your first time going, you'd be shocked for sure. It's called the Forest Head. It's a gigantic human head. The sculpture was assembled by an American artist using 3,000 custom-made wooden pieces. No screws were used. People can walk into the mouth of the sculpture. Inside, there's a small staircase. It leads to the second floor, where the two giant eyes are. You can lie down there and look at the view ahead. Fourth place. A mysterious underground bunker. Northwest Germany. A group of hikers discovered something strange in the woods. They noticed rainwater pipes protruding from the ground. It looked like a ventilation duct. Their strong curiosity led them to search the area. Before long, they discovered a strange entrance. Inside, there were long corridors and rusty metal pipes. Weird symbols and graffiti were also written on the walls. Clearly, someone had lived here before. They also saw a strange hole in the ground. It seemed to be an entrance to the next level. They then arrived at the second intersection of the corridor. The ground was covered with strange stones. There were unintelligible words written on the wall. They also saw a large yellow door in another hallway. The door was very heavy. Behind the door was another strange hallway. It looked worse inside than anywhere they had been before. There were even phrases like, "I love you," and "Satan" written on the walls. They kept going deeper. They saw a darker and more desolate scene. There seemed to be traces of flooding on the ground. They also saw a decayed body leaning against the wall. In another room, there was a massive machine. Next to the machine, there was a pair of gloves used for work. As for this mysterious underground bunker, why was it built? What was its purpose? Some say it might be related to two, but the specific role still lacks a reasonable explanation. Number 3. The Japanese ghost town in Canada's forest. In the forests of British Columbia, Canada, there is a mysterious site known as the Japanese ghost town. This location was discovered by archaeologist Bob Markle and his team. They unearthed over 1,000 items here. Among them were rice bowls, sake bottles, teapots, and Japanese ceramics. The excavated structures date back to the early 1920s. It is speculated that this site was established around 1918 by a Japanese merchant named Eikichi Kagetsu. He obtained the logging rights in the area. He led his family members and workers to live here ever since. However, with the outbreak of the war, this place was suddenly abandoned. The main reason was likely due to the rising anti-Japanese sentiment in North America at the time. Many Japanese Canadian residents were detained. This led Ruji to hastily evacuate with the people around him. This discovery has unveiled a previously unknown chapter of history for us. At the same time, it indirectly reflects on the cruelty and reality brought by conflict. Second place. A 4,000-year-old dagger. In March of this year, archaeologists used metal detectors. An unexpected discovery of a dagger in the forest of Bojun. The length of the dagger is 11 centimeters. Based on its age, it is estimated to be a 4,000-year-old copper dagger. However, history tells us the Bronze Age began around 3300 BC. And this dagger predates it by 700 years. It holds very significant meaning. It pushes history forward once again. Archaeologists speculate that, given the rarity of this dagger at the time, it must have belonged to a person of very high status, similar to a powerful warrior or a leader in a tribe. Moreover, this dagger was not produced in Poland at the time, but was likely imported from nearby Ukraine or Hungary. It shows that trade relations between countries had already begun at that time. Regarding this ancient dagger, the Polish government will soon place it in a museum for future generations to appreciate. First place. Shadows in the forest. Year 2023. A TikTok content creator was practicing overtone singing in the forest. His voice attracted a small deer. The man was very happy. He used his phone to capture the deer's curious gaze. But during the process, an unexpected scene occurred. A shadow slowly moved behind the deer. Then it disappeared. But in the next second, a shadow suddenly appeared behind the fawn. Their movements seemed to be peering at the man. It looks like they are filled with curiosity. Once this video was released, it attracted a lot of discussion. Some believe the figure behind the fawn could be other hiking enthusiasts passing by. But others think otherwise. These two figures might be large monsters attracted here. Of course, it could also be man-made. The two figures were actually created using special effects. Regarding this, what are your thoughts on it? Alright then, that's all for what I wanted to share with you in this episode. What do you think about these 15 forest discoveries? Feel free to share your thoughts. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss more interesting content. See you in the next episode.